Hi, this is Elder Baker with part 4 all the way to the ending of Living Beyond Survival, written by Apostle Shane Vaughn. All of his work can be found at hiscomingkingdom.com. Let us begin. What the kingdom of life actually looks like. We have walked through the laboratory and seen what DNA cannot provide. We have examined the message that changes the script, words that carry life, not just information. We have followed the feast calendar from Passover to Tabernacles, the road from doorpost to dwelling. Now the question becomes practical. What does it actually look like to live beyond survival? How does a person function when they are no longer operating on the biological script? What changes when the kingdom message has been heard and received? This is not theory. This is daily existence, and it looks radically different from what Egypt taught you. Chapter 15, From Baby Making to Galaxy Government. Remember where we started? DNA's script is simple. Survive long enough to reproduce, then wind down. The prime directive is replication. Everything biology does serves that end. Your body was built to be a vehicle for genetic code, and once the code has been transmitted, the vehicle has served its purpose. This reduces human beings to reproductive machines. A man is a sperm donor. A woman is a waiting egg. The highest biological purpose you can achieve is successful transmission of genetic material to the next generation. This is what you are without the kingdom message. Now consider what the kingdom message announces. You were not made just for baby making. You were made for galaxy government. That is not hyperbole. That is not poetic exaggeration. That is the literal trajectory Scripture describes. Let's look at Revelation chapter 2, verse 26 and 27. He that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron. Revelations 5, verse 10. And hast made us unto our Elohim kings and priests, and we shall reign on the earth. Do you not know that the saints shall judge the world? Know ye not that we shall judge angels? That's found in 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 2 through 3. And let us look at Luke chapter 12, verse 32. Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Luke 22, verse 29 through 30. And I appoint unto you a kingdom, as my Father hath appointed unto me, that you may eat and drink at my table in my kingdom, and sit on thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. Revelation chapter 3, verse 21. To him that overcometh will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I also overcame, and am set down with my Father in his throne. Ruling nations, reigning on earth, judging angels, sitting on thrones, governing the 12 tribes. This is what you were saved for. This is the assignment the kingdom message reveals. This is the purpose that makes biological reproduction look like a footnote. The shift in identity is total. Under the biological script, you ask, how can I survive? How can I reproduce? How can I pass on my genes? Under the kingdom script, you ask, what is my governmental assignment? How am I being prepared for rule? What jurisdiction has Yahweh entrusted to me? The first set of questions you change to DNA's priorities. The second set of questions aligns you with Yahweh's purposes. The first makes you a survival machine. The second makes you a ruler in training. Think about what this means for how you live. If your highest purpose is reproduction, then everything after reproduction is extra, bonus time, biological overtime. You've already accomplished the main thing. Now you're just running out the clock. This is why so many people experience a crisis of meaning in middle age. They've raised their children. They've succeeded by biological standards. And suddenly they wonder, what now? What's the point? Why am I still here? Biology has no answer. The script says, wind down. But if your highest purpose is governmental preparation, if you are being trained for rule in an administration that will never end, then every season of life has meaning. Youth is preparation, middle age is training, old age is advanced curriculum, and death is not termination. It is graduation into active service. The believer who has heard the kingdom message does not fear aging the way the world does. Not because they're in denial, not because they've convinced themselves that decline isn't happening. The body is still following the biological script that hasn't changed. But the person operating the body is no longer identified with the script. They are not their DNA. They are not their biology. They are a ruler in training, housed temporarily in a biological vehicle, being prepared for governmental function that will far outlast the vehicle. This changes everything about how you experience the body's decline. The world sees aging as tragedy, the loss of capability, the approach of termination, the slow erosion of everything that matters. The kingdom citizen sees aging as preparation, the refining of character, the deepening of wisdom, the stripping away of distractions that would hinder governmental functions. Same biological process, completely different meaning. From baby making to galaxy government, from sperm donor to ruling prince, from waiting egg to reigning queen. This is the shift the kingdom message produces. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Chapter 16, the Zoe life of the kingdom. We have used the word life throughout this book, but now we must be precise about what it means. The Greek New Testament uses two different words that are both translated life in English. Bios, biological life, the life of the body, survival, existence, and Zoe, Z-O-E, life of a higher order, the life of the age to come, kingdom life. When Yeshua said his words are spirit and life, the word is Zoe. When he promised abundant life, the word is Zoe. When he said, I am the way, the truth, and the life, the word is Zoe. The distinction matters enormously. Bios is what DNA gives you. Heart beating, lungs breathing, cells dividing. The biological machine running until it winds down. Bios is survival. Bios is what every living organism has, from bacteria to blue whales. Bios is not what Yeshua came to give. You already had that. Zoe is what DNA cannot give you. Zoe is the life of the age to come, breaking into the present. It is the life that characterizes the kingdom of Yahweh. It is the life that will continue when Bios has run its course. And Zoe is what the words of Yeshua carry. Let's look at John chapter 1, verse 4. In him was life, the Zoe life, And the life, the Zoe life, was the light of men. In John chapter 5, verse 26, for as Father hath Zoe, or life, in himself, so hath he given to the Son to have the Zoe, the life, in himself. John 10, verse 10, I have come that they might have life, that Zoe life, and that they might have it more abundantly. Every time Yeshua speaks of the life, he brings it is Zoe, not bios, not mere biological continuation, not survival extended. Zoe, the life of the age to come. This is what activates when the kingdom message is heard and received. The hearer doesn't just get information, they receive Zoe. The believer doesn't just get a doctrine, they receive Zoe. The person who hears and believes the words of Yeshua, the actual words, the kingdom message, not just words about him, that person passes from death to life. Let's look at John chapter 5, verse 24. He that heareth my word and believe on him that sent me hath everlasting life, that Zoe life, and shall not come into condemnation, but is passed from death unto life, that Zoe life. Notice, hath, present tense, not will have eventually, not will receive a death, hath, right now. The Zoe life begins the moment the kingdom message is truly heard and received. What does Zoe life look like in practice? It is not a feeling, though feelings may accompany it. It is not a doctrine, though doctrine describes it. It is an operational reality, a different quality of existence that manifests in how you think, how you decide, how you respond to circumstances. Zoe thinks in terms of kingdom, not survival. The bios life asks, how do I protect myself? How do I get ahead? How do I secure my position? The Zoe life asks, what does the kingdom require? What is my assignment? How does Yahweh want me to function? Zoe responds to crisis differently. The bios life panics when survival is threatened. Fear, anxiety, desperate self-protection. The Zoe life recognizes that bios is not the point. The crisis may threaten the vehicle, but it cannot touch the assignment. Peace becomes possible even in threatening circumstances. Zoe makes decisions on different criteria. The bios life decides based on advantage, security, self-interest. The Zoe life decides based on assignment, calling, kingdom purpose. This is not personality change. This is not self-improvement. This is not trying harder to be a Christian. This is a different quality of life altogether. Life from a different source, operating by different rules, orientated toward a different purpose. Bios runs out. Zoe does not. Bios is sustained by food, water, and oxygen. Zoe is sustained by the word of the kingdom and the bread of assignment. Bios ends at death. Zoe continues through it. The question is not, do I have bios? Everybody reading this book has bios. Your heart is beating, your lungs are working, the biological machine is running. The question is, do you have Zoe? Have you received the life that DNA never ever carried? Have you heard the words that transmit something beyond information? Are you operating on kingdom life or merely on biological survival? Chapter 17, a man moves beyond survival. What does it actually look like when a person transitions from survival living to kingdom living? Let me describe the shift practically. The survival-oriented man wakes up asking, what do I need to do today to protect my position, advance my interest, and secure my future? His calendar is organized around self-preservation. His relationships are evaluated by what they provide him. His decisions are filtered through the question, what's in it for me? This is not evil. This is biological. This is what DNA programmed him to do. Survival requires self-focus. Reproduction requires competitive advantage. The script runs automatically. The kingdom-oriented man wakes up asking, what is my assignment today? How does Yahweh want me to function? What does the kingdom require of me? His calendar is organized around mission. His relationships are evaluated by how they serve kingdom purpose. His decisions are filtered through the question, what does my king require? Same man, same circumstances, completely different operating systems. The transition is not instantaneous. You do not hear the kingdom message once and immediately begin living as a governmental agent. The old scripts are deeply embedded. Survival thinking has been running for decades. The biological program doesn't delete itself. What happens is more like this. First, you hear the kingdom message reaches your ears. Something stirs. You recognize that what you're hearing is different from what you've heard before. Then you see the blindness begins to lift. You start recognizing the difference between the gospel about Christ and the gospel of Christ. You see how Passover Christianity left you stationary. Then you choose. You make a decision to live by the kingdom script rather than the survival script. Not once, but repeatedly. Every day presents choices between the two operating systems. Then you practice. Living beyond survival is a skill that must be developed. You will fail. You will default to survival thinking. You will catch yourself operating on the old script. But over time, the new script becomes more natural. The kingdom operating system begins to run more smoothly. The survival reflexes begin to quiet. This is discipleship. This is transformation. This is what happens when the Zoe life matures. A man operating on survival cannot forgive genuinely. Forgiveness requires releasing a debt, but survival thinking says hold every advantage, collect every debt, never give up leverage. Forgiveness contradicts survival. A man operating on kingdom can forgive freely. His security is not in the debts owed to him, but in his position in the kingdom. He can release what others owe because his provision comes from another source. A man operating on survival cannot serve without calculating return. Every expenditure of energy must be evaluated for payoff. What do I get back? How does this serve my interest? Service becomes transaction. A man operating on kingdom can serve without return. His reward is not in the transaction, but in the fruitfulness. He serves because serving in his function, not because serving earns him something. A man operating on survival fears death. Death is the end of everything survival worked for. Death means all the accumulation, all the positioning, all the advantage gone. Death is ultimate failure. A man operating on kingdom does not fear death the same way. Look at Hebrews chapter 2, verse 14 and 15. For as much then as the children are partakers of flesh and blood, he also himself likewise took part of the same, that through death he might destroy him that had the power of death, that is the devil, and deliver them who through fear of death were all their lifetime subject to bondage. Fear of death is bondage. The kingdom message delivers from that bondage. Death is transition, not termination. Death is graduation into active governmental service. Death ends the training and begins the assignment. Death is not to be sought prematurely, but neither is it to be feared ultimately. Let's look at Philippians chapter 1, verse 21. For to me to live is Messiah, and to die is gain. Paul could say that because he was operating on the kingdom script, not the survival script. This is what it looks like when a man moves beyond survival. Not perfection, not constant success, not effortless victory, but a fundamental reorientation of life around a different purpose, operating on a different power, headed toward a different destination. Chapter 18. Move past me and find thee. There is a phrase that captures the essence of kingdom living. Move past me and find thee. This is the opposite of survival orientation. Survival says, protect me, preserve me, serve me. Kingdom says, move past me, past my self-interest, past my self-protection, past my self-concern, and find Yahweh. Look at Matthew chapter 16, verses 24 and 25. Then said Yeshua unto the disciples, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself, and take up his cross, and follow me. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it, and whosoever will lose his life for my sake shall find it. Deny himself, lose his life. This is the opposite of survival thinking. And yet, he who loses his life finds it. The paradox of kingdom. What survival guards jealously, kingdom releases freely and receives back multiplied. Survival makes self the center. This is not more failure. This is biological design. An organism that doesn't prioritize its own survival doesn't survive long enough to reproduce. Self-centeredness is written into the DNA script, but kingdom life operates on a different center. Yahweh is the center. His purposes are the priority. His kingdom is the organizing principle. Let's look at Matthew chapter 6, verse 33. But seek ye first the kingdom of Yahweh and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Seek first the kingdom, not survival first and kingdom second. Kingdom first. When you move past self, you find him. When you relieve self-concern, you discover kingdom purpose. When you stop asking, what about me? You start hearing, here is your assignment. This is what the Great Commandment describes. It's in Mark chapter 12, verse 30. Thou shalt love Yahweh, thy Elohim, with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind, and with all thy strength. All, not some, not the leftover after self has been served. Everything, all. The heart, the seat of desire. Move past desiring for self and find desiring for Yahweh. Soul, the seat of breathing life. Move past living for self and find living for Yahweh. Mind, the seat of thought. Move past thinking for self and find thinking for Yahweh. And strength, the seed of action. Move past acting for self and find acting for Yahweh. This is total reorientation. This is complete shift of center. This is what survival thinking can never achieve on its own. The second commandment follows naturally. Look at Mark chapter 12, verse 31. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Notice as yourself, not instead of yourself, not while ignoring yourself, as yourself. The same care, concern, and investment you naturally give to your own survival, extend that to others. This is only possible when you have moved past self as center. You still have a self, you still have needs, but self is no longer the organizing principle. Yahweh is. And from that center, you can love neighbor as self, because self is no longer competing with neighbor for the center position. Move past me and find thee. This is the motion of kingdom living. Every day, every decision, every thought. Am I operating from self as center? Or have I moved past self to find Yahweh? The answer reveals which script you're running. Chapter 19. The disciplines, signs of life beyond life. Chapter 19. How do you know if someone is living beyond survival? Not by their words. Words are easy. Not by their emotions. Emotions fluctuate. Not by their circumstances. Circumstances vary. You know by their disciplines. The disciplines of the kingdom life are not religious obligations. They are not boxes to check or rituals to perform. The disciplines are expressions of orientation. They are what naturally flows from a life organized around Yahweh rather than self. When you see the disciplines operating consistently in a person's life, you are seeing evidence of Zoe. You are seeing the fruit of a life that has moved past survival. The discipline of worship. The survival-oriented person worships themselves, not explicitly, but functionally. Their time, attention, and energy flow towards self-preservation and self-advancement. The kingdom-oriented person worships Yahweh. Time is set apart for him. Attention is directed toward him. Energy is spent in acknowledging his worth. Worship is not a weekly event. It is a daily posture, and it is evidence that self has been displaced from the center. The discipline of Torah. The survival-oriented person learns that they need to get ahead. Education serves advancement. Knowledge is power. The kingdom-oriented person learns that Yahweh has revealed. Torah is not burden, but blueprint. The instructions of the kingdom are not restrictions, but a roadmap. When a person delights in Torah, when they study not from obligation, but from hunger, you are seeing kingdom life in operation. The discipline of prayer. The survival-oriented person prays for survival needs. Protect me, provide for me, fix my problems. Prayer is crisis management. The kingdom-oriented person prays for kingdom purposes. Your will be done. Your kingdom come. Show me my assignment. Use me for your purposes. The content of prayer reveals the center of life. The discipline of giving. The survival-oriented person gives from surplus, if at all. Giving threatens accumulation. Resources might be needed later. The kingdom-oriented person gives as investment. Resources flow to kingdom purposes. Giving is not loss, but deployment. Generosity is impossible from survival center. Generosity flows naturally from kingdom center. The discipline of rest. The survival-oriented person cannot rest. There is always more to do, more to accumulate, more to secure. Rest feels like falling behind. The kingdom-oriented person rests because Yahweh commanded rest. Shabbat is not loss of productivity, but trust in provision. Rest declares, my security is not in me striving, but in his faithfulness. The ability to truly rest, to cease striving without anxiety, is evidence of kingdom life. The discipline of community. The survival-oriented person views others as competitors or resources. Relationships serve advancement. The kingdom-oriented person views others as fellow citizens and co-laborers. Relationships serve kingdom purposes. Community is not networking, but family. The quality of relational investment reveals the operating system. These disciplines are not requirements for entering kingdom life. They are evidence that kingdom life is present. You do not perform the disciplines to earn Zoe. You observe the disciplines emerging as Zoe matures. When you see these signs, worship, Torah, prayer, giving, rest, community, you are seeing life beyond survival. You are seeing the fruit of a life that has moved past biological programming into governmental training. You are seeing what it looks like when the script has changed. That is the end of part 4. Part 5. The resurrection factor. The final answer to biology's verdict. We have walked a long road from the laboratory to the feast calendar, from DNA's verdict to the kingdom commission, from survival thinking to governmental training. But there remains one factor that has been present throughout but not yet fully addressed: resurrection. Without resurrection, everything in this book is merely philosophy. Interesting ideas about reframing existence, but ultimately impotent against the biological reality we documented in part 1. With resurrection, everything changes. Chapter 20. Purpose can sustain. Only resurrection can redeem. Viktor Frankl was right. Purpose can sustain a man through almost any suffering. We saw this in part 2. Prisoners with purpose survived when those without purpose died. The human spirit, oriented toward meaning, can override biological probabilities in remarkable ways. But here's what Frank could not address. Purpose can sustain. Purpose cannot redeem. What do I mean by redeem? The body is still flowing the biological script. Purpose doesn't change that. Kingdom orientation doesn't change that. Governmental training doesn't change that. The cells are still accumulating mutations. The repair mechanisms are still declining. The cancer risk is still rising. Death is still scheduled. Purpose makes the decline meaningful. Purpose gives the scheduled termination a different emotional quality. Purpose allows a person to face death with equanimity rather than terror. But purpose does not stop death. Purpose does not reverse the biological verdict. Purpose does not redeem the body from what DNA has written into it. Only resurrection can do that. That is why resurrection is not optional theology. Without resurrection, the kingdom message is just a better way to die. Without resurrection, governmental training is preparation for a government that never actually arrives. Without resurrection, Zoe, life, is just a nicer quality of existence before the same termination everyone faces. But with resurrection, everything we have discussed finds its completion. The body that followed the biological script is raised beyond biology. The decline that DNA scheduled is reversed. The death that was inevitable to overcome, resurrection redeems what purpose could only sustain. Let's look at 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 19. If in this life only we have hope in Messiah, we are of all men most miserable. Paul understood perfectly. If there is no resurrection, if this life is all there is, then Christians are pathetic. They gave up advantage. They sacrificed for kingdom that never comes. They trained for a government they never enter. But Paul continues. In 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 20, but now in Messiah risen from the dead, and became the first fruits of them that slept. Messiah is risen, actually risen, bodily risen. The biological verdict has been overturned in at least one case, and he is the first fruits. Not the only fruit, but the first of a harvest. His resurrection guarantees the resurrection of all who are in him. This changes everything. The body is not discarded. The body is redeemed. Some religious traditions teach that the body is a prison, something to escape, something to transcend, something to leave behind. That is not the message of Scripture. The body is not the problem. Sin operating in the body is the problem. The body is not to be escaped. The body is to be resurrected. Let's look at Philippians chapter 3, verse 21. Who shall change our vile body, that it may be fashioned like unto his glorious body, according to the working whereby he is able even to subdue all things unto himself. Changed, fashioned, made like his glorious body. Behold, I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed in a moment, in a twinkling of an eye, at the last trump. For the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed. You can find that in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 51 and 52. Changed, raised, incorruptible, in a moment. Let's go on with 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 53 and 54. For this is corruptible, must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality. So when this corruptible shall have put on incorruption, and this mortal shall have put on immortality, then shall be brought to pass the saying that is written, death is swallowed up in victory. Death swallowed up, not just avoided, not just delayed, swallowed up in victory. 1 Corinthians 15, verse 55, O death, where is thy sting? O grave, where is thy victory? This is the final answer to DNA's verdict. This is the complete reversal of biology's script. Not discarded, transformed. And not escaped, redeemed. What does a resurrected body look like? We have one example, Yeshua himself. After his resurrection, He was physical. He ate food. He could be touched. He walked roads. This was not a ghost or a spirit. This was his body. Look at Luke chapter 24, verse 39. Behold my hands and my feet, that it is I myself. Handle me, and see, for a spirit hath not flesh and bones, as ye see me have. Flesh and bones, touchable, physical, real. But it was a body no longer subject to the biological script. No more decline, no more cellular decay, no more entropy. A body that could appear in locked rooms. A body that was not always immediately recognized. A body that operated by different rules than the biological body that went into the tomb. This is what awaits those who are in Messiah. Not escape from body, body redeemed. Chapter 21. Reassignment, not repair. One of the deepest misunderstandings about the kingdom life is that Yahweh is trying to repair your old life. He is not. He is not patching the survival machine so it runs better. He is not upgrading the biological vehicle so it lasts longer. He is not improving Egypt so that staying becomes more comfortable. He is reassigning you. From survival to government. From biological function to kingdom function. From what DNA made you for to what Yahweh designed you for. Repair keeps you in the same system with better performance. Reassignment moves you to a different system with different purpose. Repair asked, how can I survive better? Reassignment asked, what is my governmental function? Repair focuses on the vehicle. Reassignment focuses on the mission. This is why so much Christian teaching feels inadequate. It promises repair. It promises that Yahweh will fix your marriage, fix your finances, fix your health, and fix your emotions. And sometimes Yahweh does repair things. He is compassionate. He heals. He provides. But repair is not the goal. Reassignment is the goal. Yahweh is not primarily interested in making your survival more comfortable. He is interested in transitioning you from survival to government. When you understand this, disappointment decreases. Why? Because you stop expecting repair as the main thing, and you start embracing reassignment as the actual program. Resurrection is the ultimate reassignment. The body that was assigned to survival, reproduce and expire, is reassigned to government. The body that could only operate within biological limits is reassigned to operate in the age to come. The body that was designed for one purpose is redeemed for another purpose entirely. This is not repair. This is not improvement. This is not upgrade. There is reassignment. From biological machine to glorified vessel. From survival vehicle to governmental instrument. From what DNA built to what Yahweh designed. The resurrection body is not the old body fixed. It is the old body transformed into something fit for its true purpose. Let's look at 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 42 through 44. It is sown in corruption. It is raised in incorruption. It is sown in dishonor. It is raised in glory. It is sown in weakness. It is raised in power. It is sown a natural body. It is raised a spiritual body. Sown, raised, corruption, incorruption, Dishonor, glory. Weakness, power. Natural, spiritual. This is complete transformation. This is total reassignment. This is the body finally becoming what it was always meant to be. Not a survival machine, but a vessel for the glory of Yahweh. Chapter 22. The manifestation creation awaits. We begin this book in a laboratory examining DNA. We end with creation itself waiting. Let's look at Romans chapter 8, verse 19. For the earnest expectation of the creature waiteth for the manifestation of the sons of Yahweh. Creation is waiting, not for a rescue mission that evacuates the saints to heaven, not for an escape plan that leaves the world behind. Creation is waiting for the sons of Yahweh to be manifested, revealed, unveiled, publicly demonstrated. What is creation waiting for? For rulers to take their place, for the government to be installed, for the ones who have been trained during this age to begin functioning in their assignments. Creation is waiting for you. If you have heard the kingdom message, if you have received the Zoe life, if you have been walking the fast calendar toward the destination Yahweh has prepared, creation is waiting for the sons to be revealed. Let's look at Romans chapter 8, verse 20 and 21. For the creature was made subject to vanity, not willing, but by reason of him who has subject the same in hope, because the creature itself also shall be delivered from the bondage of corruption into the glorious liberty of the children of Yahweh. Creation is in bondage. The same corruption we examined in part 1, the entropy, the decay, the biological decline, affects all of creation. But creation's bondage is not permanent. When the sons of Yahweh are manifested, when the government is installed, when the rulers take their place, creation itself will be delivered. The biological script will be overwritten. The entropy will be reversed. The corruption will give way to liberty. This is what the whole book has been building toward. Not escape from creation, restoration of creation. Not abandonment of the material world, redemption of the material world. Not leaving the body behind, the body resurrected and creation transformed. The sons of Yahweh, those who have received the kingdom message, who have been trained through the feast calendar, who have learned to live beyond survival, will be manifested. And when they are manifested, creation will be set free. This is the destiny that DNA could never imagine. This is the purpose that biology could never provide. This is the manifestation that creation itself is groaning for. Are you one of the sons? Have you heard this message? Have you begun the journey? Have you moved past survival into governmental training? If so, creation is waiting for you. The universe is holding its breath. The manifestation is coming, and you have a role in what happens next. The closing declaration. Put your shoes on. We have traveled a long road together, from the laboratory where DNA writes its cold verdict, through the church where Passover becomes a prison, along the feast calendar where the journey was supposed to lead, into the kingdom life where survival gives way to government, and finally to resurrection, the factor that redeems everything. Now there is only one thing left to say. Put your shoes on. The blood is not on the doorpost. The blood is on the doorpost. That work is done. But you were never meant to stay at the door. You were meant to walk. Yahweh has a feast calendar that leads somewhere. It leads from Egypt to the promised land, from slavery to rulership, from survival to government, from biological machine to manifested son. The shoes were commanded for a reason, with your shoes on your feet. You cannot walk without shoes. You cannot journey without preparation for the road. You cannot reach the destination standing barefoot at the doorpost. Everything in this book has been preparation for this moment. The biology lesson was to show you what you cannot escape on your own. The message of the kingdom was to show you what activates real life. The feast calendar was to show you there is a road after the door. The resurrection was to show you that the road leads somewhere DNA cannot imagine. Now you must decide. Will you remain at Passover, saved but stationary, forgiven but functionless, covered but not commissioned? Or will you put on your shoes and begin walking? There is a kingdom to enter. There is a government being formed. There is a role with your name on it. There is a training program already in progress. There is a destination that makes the journey worth every step. The door is open. The blood has been applied. The death angel has passed over. Now, shoes on, staff in hand, loins girded, walk. Creation is waiting. The kingdom is at hand. Your assignment awaits. Put your shoes on. Thank you for going through this book written by Apostle Shane Vaughn, Living Beyond Survival, Salvation in Sandals, The Purpose of Passover. All work from this ministry can be found at hiscomingkingdom.com. Yahweh's blessing. May peace travel with you today. Thank you so much.